Okay, welcome to Stampscaping 101. I'm going to do a scene using all of these colors of green and blue here to create a background, kind of like a Northern Lights type of thing. I am working on a half-page piece of paper because I'm going to be using some large stamps. And I'm using some aqua re-inker fluid in the Adirondack Lights range. As my first color, it's a really light color and thick style of ink, so it provides a really nice foundation ink for all of my other colors to come. The other colors will be Marvy, and they are thinner inks. So having this thicker one as a foundation will provide kind of a lubricant and somewhat... This doesn't literally seal the card off, but what it does is it kind of provides a, I don't know, a kind of a slipperier surface with whatever binder Ranger uses in those, whatever in their inks, their dye-based inks. This will work with just about any types of dye-based inks. You wouldn't want to be doing something like this that we're going to be doing with pigment ink, okay? Dye-based inks are transparent, and you can layer them on top of one another and apply them onto glossy cardstock. Okay, that was the Ocean Aqua. That got pretty good coverage there, full coverage. I'm going to move on to my next color, which is a yellow-green, number 52 from Marvy. Okay. I'm going to leave this really streaky, and that's going to kind of represent these bands of light atmosphere. You get some pretty full coverage. If you want to, you can squeeze out some ink like that, then drag it across. And I do have that Adirondack Lights, so it's really allowing me to do that type of application right here, like that. See, it's kind of, the paper is somewhat sealed off, so it allows me to drag these and blend them in a nice smooth fashion. If the paper were just bare paper with no kind of undercoat with that type of ink, it doesn't have to be that brand. There's other types of thick inks too out there. But anyways, that allows you to really, you know, use any other brands of inks. You wouldn't want to use 5 coats of a real slippery one because, you know, after a while you start applying ink and nothing's going on there. It's just kind of, you're dragging off all of the ink because they're all thick. So kind of work from thick to thin without too much thickness going into the, you know, each incrementally darker tone. Okay, so work thick, light, and then work into thin, as far as consistency goes, and dark. Okay? Thick to thin and light to dark. And that's what I tend to be doing on just about every one of my scenes, you know, using the layered dye-based inks. I kind of see it as like almost like you're glazing your card stock with, you know, layer upon layer of ink. It's kind of like one style of painting, you know, a real classical style of painting. They used to glaze oil paints on kind of monochromatic paintings or studies, you know, and they'd put just multiple layers of paint down, sometimes in what they call the trompe l'oeil forgot what that meant. Fool the eye or something like that. And these really photorealistic paintings. And it just became so rich. You know, of a surface. Okay, moving on. We're not working around any kind of official, formal source of light, such as a moon or, you know, a sun. Basically, we're just kind of defining light through the use of shadow, shade, you know, and tone here. So if you want to have areas remain light, then just don't go over them, and especially with the, you know, the darker tones. This is a light green that I'm applying now. It's very rich and bright and warm. Okay. Let's see, that's a number 3 blue. Let's go with the number 4 green first. Okay. You can hold your applicator at an angle a little bit, you know, so you're getting a thinner streak, and to widen it, you just keep going over it and over it and over it. See that? Like that. That's what I'm doing here. Somewhat. I think originally I had an idea of what was up and what was down, you know, what was the top and the bottom of this card, but I just realized as I was applying that color, I have no idea which side I intended to, you know, have as my top or bottom. Actually, the way I'm holding it now, I think this is the, this will be the configuration. I was kind of leaving a little area lighter there, because I have this little eagle that I'm thinking about stamping in there, but I'll just have to see. I have kind of an extra step in here that I'm going to be doing as far as that technique goes. That's why I'm kind of really I'm taking this card quite a bit darker than a lot of other cards that I've done so far in these lessons. I'm going to be using some reverse imagery, stamping imagery in white as well as black. So, you know, if it's going to get, you know, if I'm going to have these reversed images, you know, meaning light on dark, you have to go kind of dark in the background, otherwise, you know, they're barely going to show up. This is a, if I didn't mention it, that last color that I used was blue. The color I'm using now is a Prussian blue. Blue almost black. Really making my edges dark, corners to be more accurate. I have no idea what this looks like now. It kind of reminds me of some kind of, like I'm looking at some kind of chart, almost like a wavelength or something like that. Seeing what, I don't know, some kind of chemical or something burns at. And sometimes with some of the inks, the colors, you know, when you start getting so thick with tone on here, with so many colors that you're using, sometimes it doesn't seem to be getting very much darker, because you're almost using, this is black right here, you're almost kind of, you know, wiping wet into wet, so, you know, not too much ink is transferring to the paper, but when you start using that Prussian blue, it's, that ink is really, that color really penetrates the surface, whatever, you know, whatever, I don't know, whatever the makeup of that ink is, it's, it seems to really penetrate the surface of whatever you're doing, and it really stains your fingertips as well, so, but, I don't know. Unless it's toxic or something, I really don't even care. And I don't think it is. Okay. We have all this vast range of tone within there. And let's see. I'm trying to figure out top and bottom. Alright. This is the Curvy Branch stamp, and I'm going to try to work some layers in here, using some different colors. Trying to figure out what color I want to stamp in here first. Maybe a green or something like that. Yeah, let's try that. This is, go with a color that you have used on the card so far, so that it will blend into the background. That's what we want it to do. Okay. Go something like this. Okay. That's kind of nice. What color you go with, you know, it just depends on how dark it is back there. If it's fairly dark, then you can't stamp something like this, otherwise that color's not going to show, because the background is already darker, so. Okay, let's go for multiple heights of this and angles. Okay. Go for a couple lower impressions of it. Like so. I don't think this, you know, when this dries, these ones down here that are in the darkness probably aren't going to show up at all, but, oh, you know, for now, we'll give it a try. Let's see here. Okay, I think it's time to try some different colors. And, oh, I completely forgot this one step that I was going to do. I'll just do it right now. I was going to kind of do this faux bleaching technique here using a spray bottle, and I'm just going to spray the surface on here to give it some texture. I'm glad I remembered at this point in time. I don't want to do it after my next step, which is okay, let me see, let me do a practice spray. Okay, did you see that happen? I don't know. I hope you can see some of this water down here. Let me see if I can hold this up and see what happened here. There's kind of water splashed on there. Let me see if I can catch the highlights of that. You see that there? And what that's going to do is it's going to start, see how it's starting to bleach out some of that dye-based ink, you know, right there. There you go. You can kind of see it a little bit better there. This is just going to give some extra texture to the scene. And I'm going to stop this stage right here and come back to it, and I'll show you how far the... I'm going to let this sit for a couple minutes and have it lift off some of that color, and then I'll come back to the stamping. Okay, end of part 1.